we're praying all y'all out, and we're hoping and praying that you don't know Jesus, that you find Jesus here today. He's not hard to find. He's right here. He's waiting on us. We're going to go ahead and go through the announcements that we have. There's not many of them. We'll go through that, and then we'll go through the service. There will be a memorial service right after church this month. Well, first we'll have a meeting. Chuck wagon gang. Chuck wagon team. Chuck wagon gang. Okay. Which classroom? It don't matter. There'll be a classroom with some folks in it after church back there that's where the Chuck wagon team is going to be meeting. And so we have a memorial service that's going to be at 11. The Chuck wagon team meeting should be in a room back there, just in case it runs a little long. But it'll be back there. It shouldn't take that long, really. But I don't think we'll do anything except just introduce people to who's going to be in charge of it, and tell them some of the rules and stuff that the teams go by. But we'll have a memorial service for Mr. David Kirby right after at 11, and Chuck Wellington, and there'll be a cleanup day the 24th. I don't know what time it starts. I guess whatever time daylight dark. That's what your day is supposed to be. March 24th. Oh, March the 24th. That's in a couple of months. We can get that. We're going to get a couple of months off. But what time? Daylight. Y'all be here at daylight when we get started. I'm talking about 12. No, I don't know what time. I'm going to say nobody be here at daylight. But you got plenty of notice. 2 months to plan that. So, is there anything that I don't know about? I'm sure there is, but I've got a mess up here. We know that you can find Jesus here. We sung the song, I Find Jesus, and you find Jesus in a lot of things. You see God's works in everything. The reason we know that you can find Jesus here is because God's with us. And that's the name of this next song. I don't understand why God sent His Son. I know we had to, but I don't understand why He would, because I know me. I know what I am or what I want. And I'm not worth dying for. But I'm glad to be. I don't understand that kind of love. But I know He has it. Who are we? You will be mindful of us. What do you see? This world looking our way. We are free in ways that we never should be. Sweet release from the bruises chains. Like cages straining from the weight, my heart no longer can keep up singing. All that is within me cries, for you alone be glorified, Emmanuel, God with us. My heart sings. a tiny offering compared to Calvary. Nevertheless, we lay it at your feet. All that is within me cries for you alone. Glorify Emmanuel, God with us. My heart sings a brand new song. My deadest faith, these chains are gone. Emmanuel, God with us. Emmanuel, God with us.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you at this time again. We thank you. Talking come out, thank you, talking today, come out of worship through and God. Lord, we ask you to these first churches in here today, they will see the next concern that you do, improve their lives, be better servants to you. Lord, we ask you to do it for ones who need, their responsibilities. Lord, we ask you to do it for them. Lord, be with the sick. Lord, be with each one of us to be better servants to you. Lord, we thank you most of all for Jesus Christ, who lived and died on the earth to come to be with us. Jesus, thank you, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
You know what? God sent His Son to die for us. I know why, but I still don't understand. And I don't always try to pick out songs for the have a theme that run through, but it seemed like it might have worked out this way this morning. And I listen to it right up here, just like sometimes we wonder why did God do what He did? Why did He do what He did? Why did He do what He did? Why did He? Why? I don't understand. Why me, Lord? Is there one of the pleasures I know? Tell me, Lord, what did I ever do? There was worth loving you. For the Now y'all stand up. This is that time when you walk around, shake hands, let somebody know it's good to see you. We're gonna play a little bit. I had it up here, I just didn't, I didn't see it. There's a benefit for Diane Reeves February the 17th. Algoma Fire Department, she's been diagnosed or suffering from lung cancer, and they've asked the church band come to play, so we're going to try to play over there. That's February the 17th. We'll be there we'll be playing from 4 to 5. So if y'all want to come out, they'll be selling hamburgers and hot dog plates. That starts at 4. So y'all want to come out and eat, support somebody that's having a hard time, and support the church band. We've done a few of these benefits last year, and we had a lot of people from the church come and listen. So if you get a chance, come out. There's lots of ways to do stuff, and old is not always the best. Old is the way we know how to do it, and not that it's bad, but we're going to try the old hymn in a new way. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we're going to try it.
Everlasting arms. On the hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. In the old rugged cross, stained with blood so divine, a wondrous beauty I see. For 'twas on that old cross Jesus suffered and died to pardon and sanctify me. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true. Its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then He'll call me someday to my home far away, where His glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Good morning. I always feel like I'm if you got your Bibles this morning, turn to Luke's Gospel, chapter 16. Gospel of Luke, chapter 16. We're going to talk about a topic today that you can come a lot of Sundays, and you won't hear me mention it very often.
It's just not a topic that I preach about a whole lot, but one of the goals that I have for this year in my personal life, as well as in what I'm trying to feel the Lord's leading me to bring to the church, is things on discipleship. And now, we took a break from that last week and looked at some things, but I think what we looked at last week, the sanctity of life, is as much a part of discipleship as anything can possibly be. But looking at and exploring some things in my personal life and trying to figure out where I am on some things, because if I'm going to be any good at helping to make disciples and God taking and using me to do that, I got to be doing a good job on some of those things myself. And there's no better time of the year to sit down and try to figure out where you stand on the issue of money than it is when you're trying to get stuff together for taxes. Because that's whenever you start to really, some people are already making faces. That's when you start to really figure out what are you doing with it. How much of it did you really have? How much of it did you waste? If you would, go to Luke's Gospel, chapter 16, verse 12. Verse 10. It says, one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Let's pray. Father, we thank you this morning for the opportunity that we have to come out to your house. Father, we thank you again for the worship time that we've had and for the talent that you've assembled. Father, we thank you for the food that you provide for us each week. And Father, as we go in this time of study, Father, I ask that you'll open up our hearts and our minds to your word. And Father, I ask that you would remove my words from me and that you would replace them with yours and yours alone. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Now, in my research and looking at a lot of this stuff, and like I said, trying to get a grasp on some of this stuff, there's over 500 references in the Bible to faith. I would have expected there to be more, but it's a little over 500. There's a little over 600 on prayer. I would have expected that to be a little bit more too. But there's over 2,350 references to money in the Bible. It is by far the most touched on topic in all of Scripture. If you go through the Gospels and you go verse by verse and start looking through keeping up with the tally of it, you'll find that approximately 1 out of every 10 verses in the Gospels has to do with money. If you want to know where your priorities lie, look at your bank statement. You can fake almost anything in your life. You can take and you can fake your prayer life. You cannot know Jesus Christ from a stray cat at the Dollar General parking lot, and you can fake prayer. We see politicians do it all the time. And we can fake devotion. We can talk a good talk. We can even walk the walk in front of people a lot of times. We can come to church every time the doors is open. We can hit every revival that's happening. We can make people think that we're really, really faithful folks. But if you really want to start digging down and get into what people really believe, what people really serve, get in their checkbook. It's going to tell you what they did with their time. It'll tell you a little bit about what their goals are. It'll tell you about relationships. It'll tell you about some of their convictions, because you'll see where their money goes. And it gets kind of scary whenever you sit down and start doing that sometimes. Now, like I said, it seems to be a good time to do that around tax season every year. You got to sit down and figure out where did your money go? What did I do with it? And it kind of starts to get to be a little bit scary for me at times whenever I think about it. Now, this verses that we just read from Luke's Gospel, chapter 16, you'd have to go up and start several verses on up, as Jesus tells this parable of a dishonest servant. And this servant's over his master's account, and the master comes to him and he tells him, says, I'm paraphrasing, but it says, you haven't been managing my accounts real well, you're going to have to turn it all in. And if you read those verses, that servant says that he realizes, you know what, I can't really work. I'm not up for physical labor, and there's not really anything I can do. I better do something. So he takes his master's creditors and he brings them in and he tells one, hey, you owe 100 measures, let's mark it off and make it 50. Another one, you owe 100, let's mark it off and make it 80. And they go through, whenever his master finds out about it, he actually commends him for what he has done and taking his money and doing what he did with it. Well, as we look at that, each and every one of us has been given a certain amount and a certain measure. The first thing that I have had to relearn, and I say relearn because I did know it, but I hadn't lived it out as well as I should have or could have, is that God owns more than the tithe that I give him. Far too often I think, okay, got my paycheck, I got to give God 10%, the other 90% is mine to do whatever I want to with. But that's really not how that works. You see, 100% of it is God's. Now, we're supposed to give him 10% right off the top for his work, give that to his church. And I believe as often as it's feasible, if you're at a church that can take it and can use it, that 10% needs to go to your local church. Above and beyond that, you can give to parachurch ministries or individuals or missionaries or whatever, but my belief is that tithe is meant to go to the local church. That's what that needs to do. Well, beyond that other 90%, God actually cares what you're going to do with it, what you're going to spend it on. In studying through this, the one thing that keeps jumping out at me is debt. If you're 13 to 35, I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to talk about next. If you're above 35, you are probably already in some kind of terrible debt hole and you're going to spend the rest of your life digging out of it. Just works that way. Or maybe I'm just assuming because it worked that way for me, that it works for the rest of y'all like that. I don't know. But it tells us in Proverbs that the borrower is slave to the lender. We don't think about that a whole lot. And slavery in this country, thankfully, was abolished over 100 years ago. But if I really get down and dig into it, Wells Fargo pretty much owns me half the time. Actually, I think it's like Ditech Financial now. They sold it off to her. Some few even know all this. She used to do all this, so she could tell that she's done all my stuff. So somebody else owns me now. Wells Fargo sold me. So it's kind of the same picture. If they can sell you, there you go. You get a letter in the mail saying Wells Fargo doesn't own your mortgage anywhere. Somebody else does. But they expect you to pay it. If you don't pay it, you know what they're going to do? They're going to come put you out of your house. If I don't pay for my truck, they're going to come and get it. Now, I've thought about that as not being a bad option lately. But they tell me that that's bad. You don't need to do that. So if I don't pay for it, they're going to come and get it. Somebody's going to back up. It's usually going to be some really big guy with like tattoos and a gun here. And he's going to come get my truck. Because I'm not paying for it. The point is, if you have enough debt, you are no longer the master of your time, or no longer the master of what you want to do. When they come and say, you got to work overtime, you know what you got to do? You got to work overtime. Because you got to have a job. God can't come in and say, hey, I need you to go such and such. If you got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of debt. In my study and going through this, I've wondered how many things in my life I have missed because I went out and I got ahead of what God had for me. One of the stories that I read while I was researching for this message was a young missionary who felt like he was called to go to Africa. I forget what country it was to go to Africa, but he felt like he needed a seminary education to go to Africa. He had no income. He was just coming out of high school. But he felt strongly that God was telling him that you need to go to college, go to seminary. And he looked at how he was going to be able to pay for that. And his family, they didn't have any money, they didn't have any means, they didn't have any resources. So he went out and he started gathering up student loans so he could go and get what he felt he needed. Well, he started out that way and he fell under conviction about it. So he decided to back up, punt, and he could gather up enough money to go one more semester. So he got his money gathered up, and he went one more semester. Summer rolled around. He was able to gather up enough money that summer to go one more semester. Christmas come around. There were Christmas gifts and different things. He was able to go one more semester. Before he knew it, he graduated from New Orleans Theological with a degree, headed to Africa, to the mission field with no debt. I thought, that's an awesome story. It don't happen that way for most people. And then I thought, why it doesn't happen that way for most people? Most of us don't have enough faith to walk that path. I know I don't. Most of the time, we just decide to take it into our own hands. We decide to take and do that which makes the most sense quite often to the world and not necessarily to us. So many times we make arguments against things and for things based on what the world says, that it makes good sense. But it's not necessarily what Scripture says we should do. You see, if he'd have went out and he'd have racked up enough student loans to get through seminary, he had to go to college first, had to get his BS, then he had to go on to get his master's. He'd have never made it to Africa. You see, the mission field is not the greatest paying job you're ever going to get called into. It's just not. You're not going to have enough money to do that. What would have happened when he would have come out, he'd have got through seminary and he'd have come out, and that was the point of his story, was that I'd have come out and I'd had to take the best paying job at a mission that I could get, and I'd have to stay there till I got this debt paid off. I couldn't go, I couldn't do, I just have to work. And I thought about the number of times in my life that I got ahead of God. And I felt like I had to have something, and sometimes it was doing what I felt like he was calling me to do. And I did what made the most sense to me, and then end up paying for that. And far too often it's been finances. I don't talk about finances a whole lot because of all the people here today. I promise you, you're going to have a hard time finding anybody here who is worse at it than Brad and I. We are terrible with finances. I don't keep cash in my pocket because if I do, it's gone. It's going to be eat up in Snickers and buffets. That's just I may not look like it, but that's what's going to happen. It's just going to be gone. We've never managed our money well. And if you don't manage it well, what ends up happening is you don't manage your money manages you. That's just the way that works. If you're going to be completely open for God to be able to take you and use you, you can't start out digging yourself into a debt hole. Because you spend your whole life trying to dig out of it. And that limits what God can do with you in your life. There's so many things that I hear people talk about that God doesn't want you to have in your life. But so seldom do we focus on that word debt. That God doesn't want us to have debt in our life. The Old Testament has several different places in there where it talks about how to borrow and not to borrow. What to do. I remember growing up, I was in the 3rd grade when my parents bought the house that they live in today and moved to it. And I know how hard my dad worked and my mom worked to be able to get there. They rented for years before they got to that point. And I look at the house I live in today, and I look back at how old I was whenever I built that house, and how much better off I would have been if I'd have just stepped back and said, whoa, wait a minute. We'll wait a little while. We can pay a whole lot more down on this. If we'll wait a little while, we can build what we need based on where we are, not what we think we need based on where we plan together. So we dive off into these things. I think about the number of times, and I say number of times, that I went out and just traded trucks on a whim. My wife is giggling. Y'all can't see her. My wife has been very good to me on that. I have to tell a story on truck trading. This has happened more than once. So I was actually riding around looking for trucks. Mark's back there somewhere. I don't know where Mark's at, but Mark was looking for a truck. There's Mark over there. Mark was looking for a truck. Some of y'all heard me tell this story. And Mark was looking for a truck, and I was riding around, and all I needed was an excuse to look at trucks. It says Mark was looking at trucks, and I was out at work that day. I thought I should look at trucks for Mark. So I'm riding by, and I'm looking at trucks, and they had a red Chevrolet sitting at the Ford place in New Island. I tried to call Mark to tell him about it. It was a really nice truck. Now, Mark was off at the Dodge place in Amory, I think it was, or somewhere, but I was trying to call him, and he wouldn't answer his phone, so I got to thinking about that truck. And I thought, I don't like the truck I got, and I like red. So, oddly enough, he was not making commercials at the time that said, call Arnold now. But I called Arnold, and I said, hey man, you got this red truck sitting out here, can you tell me about it? He started telling me about it. And I said, well, I got a buddy that's looking for a truck, but I can't get him to answer the phone. And I said, trying to get up with him. He said, well, tell him to call me when he gets up with him. And something else come up, and he said something, and I said, well, I got this truck. And we went down that road. Well, I traded trucks with him on the phone, basically. And he said, well, come up here tomorrow and bring me your truck. I said, yeah, that'll work. And then he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, I'm fixing to go to Pontotoc. You live in Exford, right? Yeah. He said, think you can meet me at Friendship Baptist Church? I'll just bring this truck up there, and I'll just get your truck. I said, that's a good idea. So I was at my mom's house, my mom and dad's, and I was like walking around in the front yard doing this. I go home, pull up in the carport, and I said, hey, help me clean out this truck. Why do you need to clean out the truck? Well, I got to go meet Arnold. Well, who is Arnold? So anyway, I explained to her that I just traded a truck on the phone. I didn't drive it. I didn't look at it. I saw it from the road. Okay? She helped me clean out my truck. And we went and Friendship parking lot. I swapped my truck for his truck and went and did paperwork the next day. That's been over 10 years ago. And I'm not sure I have fully recovered from that yet. Financially. There's been other times the same way. And I'm telling you my story because, like I said, if you're over 35, you've already made the mistakes. If you're under 35, I want my story to help you. That's what discipleship is. Telling people where you are, being honest about your mistakes. I was playing golf. This was in 2000, I guess, and I was playing golf. And this guy from Phoenix, Arizona kept calling me and bugging the car out of me while I was playing golf about some stuff at his radio station. It really bothered me. And I was driving what was Greta's old car that she'd wrecked like 6 times. And anyway, he said, what's golf got to do with this money thing? I was not gambling, okay? I do that at the local school. It's an entry fee, okay? That's a different message for another day. But anyway, I was playing golf, got really frustrated with this whole thing, had a buddy with me, we got done. I said, you know what? I'm tired of driving this car. We need to go looking for trucks. So I started looking for trucks. I ended up at the Kia place in Tupelo, drove this little S10. Anybody knows me knows I don't need an S10. It will not do what I need it to do. But it had a big motor and a little truck. And whenever I pulled out of the Kia place, I nearly spun it around in the road because it had enough power and it was light. And my buddy just kind of looked at me. And we come back. I called Greta. I said, I think I'm fixing to trade trucks. She said, can we afford it? Well, yeah, we can afford it. What do you mean? What's the payment? I don't know yet. So, anyway, my buddy knew whenever he ever spun around in the road, we was trading trucks. So, ended up getting a truck, buying a truck. I say all of this to make you understand. Impulse decisions are bad, especially in money. Because what those two decisions alone did, and there's others that I could get into, I'm not even going to touch on credit cards today. Only thing I'm going to say about credit cards is when they send you that thing in the mail that says they'll give you a credit card, tear it up. Okay? Start a fire with it. Roll it up, stick it in the fireplace. If you don't have a fireplace, get you a 55-gallon drum. If you're old enough, you remember that's how we took your garbage at one, back in the day. Put that thing in that 55-gallon drum and set it on fire. Quickly. Don't use those things. Because you'll be 44 years old and trying to figure out how to pay for a stereo you bought when you was 22. God does not want us to do that. That is not what He desires for us. Flip over to Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25. I'm not going to read all of this. We're going to pick up at verse 14. And I'm going to read a little ways, and I'll cover a few more verses from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25. But verse 14, as Jesus is speaking, it says, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another one, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he that had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, if you go on to read, you'll find that the master comes back, and you jump down there a little piece further, and you'll find in verse 21 that as the one who had the 5 talents, who had done 5 talents more, in verse 21, his master said to him, said, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little, I will set you over much." And that goes on with the one who had 2 and turned it into 4. And then you get to the one who had 1, and he went and dug in the ground and stuck it there until his master come back. And we find in verse 26 that, "But the master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sowed, and gathered where I have scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was mine on with interest." Now, then he takes the talent from that one and he gives it to another. Now, what I want you to understand, a talent, a biblical talent, is a large sum of money. We're talking about over $1 million in today's money is what we're looking at. So he gave these people a bunch of money for them to go and invest and do with it. But what I want you to see from that today is, he says he gave each one to each according to his ability. You guys have heard me say this before, and I'll say it again because it's true. It's good that I'm not rich. I just told you how I handle a little bit of money. You imagine what I would do with a lot of money. If I won the lottery today, the best thing I could do is just go ahead and make sure Greta gets half of it. That way we'll have some of it left when it's all over. Because I would blow through mine. I wanted to get into looking at airplanes last weekend, but I was looking at airplanes on the internet. I need an airplane, I know. But it was a really nice King Air. So, what I would have done with it, I don't know, you can't put a horse in it. But I don't need a lot because I'm not good with a little. Some of you in here today already have a lot and you're good with it. And some of you in here, like me, you don't have a lot and you're horrible with the little that you've got. And what God wants us to be is to be faithful with whatever He gives us. Now, whether that's money or whether it's another talent, another gift that He gives us, He wants us to be faithful with each one of them just the same. 1 Peter 4:10 tells us that we're supposed to take it and use it. Be good stewards of it. 1 Corinthians 12:4-11 talks about the very gifts that each one of us have. and how we're supposed to take those and use that. Because as we're going to be good stewards, it's not just money, it's about our time, our talent, and our money. But your money is going to tell how well you're going to do with your time and your talent. That's going to kind of control your time and your talent. Each one of us has been given according to our ability. If we want more, we have to show the ability to be able to manage more. It is amazing to me the number of people who have and who manage it well, and they just continue to get more and more and more. They've become masters of their money. Their money's not their master. You can have $1 million and not be able to pay your bills. You can make $1 million a year and find a way to be broke. To not be able to make the house payment. To be worried about the big guy coming and getting your truck. And then you look back and say, how in the world? Or you can have $10 and feel like you're on top of the world and be free to do whatever it is that God might call you to do. It's how you manage it. And you've got to start out young on how you manage it. We do a good job teaching our kids a lot of things. And we do a poor job teaching our kids a lot of things. But we're doing a very poor job of teaching our kids the biblical responsibilities of how to manage their money. There's so many things we're doing a poor job teaching them how to do biblically, responsibly, that it's scary. But there's nothing that's going to dictate what they can do with their life, where they can go, what they can accomplish, more than how they manage their money from the day they start being an adult until the day they go home. And we don't even think about that. We got kids today who are graduating from high school who have no idea what they're going to do. But the education system says you need to go to college. You need to get a degree in something. They have no idea what they're going to get a degree in. They have no idea how they're going to pay for it. And it goes back to that story that I was mentioning earlier of the young man in the seminary. The money is out there to be had for you to go to school. And I will never, ever understand people who spend $100,000 or $150,000 to go to school to get a degree in something that pays $22,000 or $23,000 a year if they can find a job in that. But yet kids do. And a lot of times they do because it's what society says they're supposed to do. And if they go and they give a plan and says, hey, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to go, they're going to have all kind of people pass them on the back and says, go for it. That's great. The other kid graduates from high school and he comes up and says, hey, I don't want to go to college. I just want to find a way to make a living. I want to pay my bills. I think I'm going to clean out septic tanks. Nobody's going to pat him on the back and say, good job. You're going to like that. But you're going to be real proud he did it one day. Because you're going to need him. And when you need him, you're going to pay him. We need people who are willing to get with God and figure out what your gift is, what your calling is. If the vocation that you choose is a calling that God's put upon your life, we think of callings, we think of what I'm doing up here and what Chad's doing up here and what folks are doing on the mission field and that kind of thing. That's what we think about a calling. I think any career can be a calling. It's being where God would have you be. And where He has you at today may not be where He's going to put you tomorrow. That's the next part of that. Don't get so comfortable in where you are today that God can't move you to where He needs you tomorrow. That's connected back to that money and debt thing. If you've got not enough money and too much debt, God can't take you and move you. But at the same time, if you get so comfortable in whatever it is you're doing, sometimes God can't take you and move you to where He needs you. That's where we've got to be faithful with our time and our talent. God will put you in a place to develop your talent, to get you to where He needs you to be able to be used in the way that He needs to use you. And you say, well, God doesn't need me. Well, you know what? He could use somebody else to do just about anything that He does, but He chose to use you more often than you sometimes realize. And He'll use you more if you're faithful with what He uses you for now. Romans 12 and verse 6 tells us of these very gifts that we all have. It says, use them. Become a master of your money, and not your money your own master. Be aware of the talents that you have and how you use your time, and take those talents and use them for the kingdom. Because that's what He desires for you. The money that He gives you, all of it's His. He desires for you to take it and use it for His purpose in His service. The talent that He gives you is His, that He's given you on loan, that He expects you to take and use it for His service. The time that you have is the only thing that everybody in here has exactly the same amount in their account. When you get up in the morning, you've got the exact same amount of time as I do. Every one of us has the same number of minutes, seconds, and hours in a day. What are we going to do with it? We need to make it a point of putting God first in it. We need to make it a point of realizing that's as much His gift to us as any other gift. And He desires for us to use it as effectively as we do anything else. Returning to the original theme, how you handle your time is going to be dictated by how you handle your money. You've never bought anything in your life with money. You think that you do. When you go and when Arnold and I were swapping that truck, all I was worried about was about what the payment was going to be. We didn't even really talk about really what I was paying for the truck. We really didn't. It was about what's the payment going to be. And can I make that payment? And how long is that payment? And by the time we got to the end of that conversation, I didn't care how long it was. I just cared whether or not I could go get my red truck. It's not the way God wants us to manage our money, because that affects how He can manage our talent and our time. You know, if Arnold would have told me, said, tell you what, I'll trade trucks with you, it's only going to cost you 2.5 years of your life. That's all it's going to cost. 2.5 years, and it's yours. I'd have said, man, my truck ain't that bad. But when I sat down and looked at what I paid for that truck, and the number of hours that I worked to pay for that truck, it was about 2.5 years of my life that I paid for a truck. My house is going to cost me about 17 years of my life if I sat down and calculate working hours. If they'd have told me when I was building that house, hey, that's a nice house, it's only going to cost you 17 years. I said, wait a minute, I think I'll stay in my single life. It's working pretty good. But no, nobody told me that. I'm not even sure I fully grasp it now, okay? And I've been studying on this a while. So nobody else may not get nothing out of the message today and what I've been studying on this, but I've got some stuff out of it. Now, whether or not I can apply it, I have no idea, because I failed in the past. But when you think about money and debt and how you handle it, don't count it as money. Count it as time and talent. How much of my time and how much of my talent is it going to cost me to have what I want? And then compare that to how much time and how much talent is it going to cost you to have what you need. And then you can look and see how much time and how much talent God is calling on you to use. Because you see, God's Word tells us, Jesus himself tells us, that the Father knows that you need all these things. He knows that you need food on your table. He knows that you need a roof over your head. He knows that you need a vehicle to drive. Most of us in here need 2 vehicles in our families if it's going to work. And a lot of times 3. If you come by my house today, it looks like I got a used car lot. God knows what we need. If we will allow him to manage our talent and our time, our money and our debt will come in line. Because he's going to make enough time with our time to get us what we need, or he's just going to provide. Because he knows that you need that. And I believe he expects you to work for it most of the time. Jesus says that the Father's going to feed the birds in the field. But it doesn't say, he never once does Jesus say he's going to walk by and throw it in the nest. They got to fly out and get it. God knows that you need it, and God provides the seeds for the birds to go get. He's going to provide you the opportunity to go and get what you need. What God doesn't want us doing is going out and getting pretty little red trucks that we don't have to have, that we don't really need. Building a 2,700 square foot house when the kids are eventually going to move out of the house and you need 1,600 square feet. Letting God take and use you to get your time and your talent in order. He'll get your money and your debt situation worked out. The older you are, the closer you are to either getting it worked out or the more you're just already in it. The younger you are, the quicker you apply the principles that I've talked about today, the quicker you do the study that I've been doing and dig into God's Word and what it says about finances and money and debt, the better off you'll be. This message today, I believe, is applicable to everyone here, but if you're 13 to 35, I believe you can take the principles that are there and you can change your life, and if you change your life and you change it for Christ, and you get control of that one thing that's the most controlling in all of our lives, and that is our money. You can do the most amazing things for God. You can do things that other people can't do. And you can live a life that most people only dream of. Because it's not dictated by, I owe, so off to work I go. Because that's where most of us live our lives. Let's pray. Father, I thank you this morning. Father, I thank you for the gifts and the blessings that you've given me in my life. Father, I ask for forgiveness this morning for how I've squandered so much of it. Father, how I've not taken care of many of those gifts and blessings that you've given me. Father, I ask for your strength in front of everyone here today to have the courage to apply what I've learned from your word to my life. And Father, if there are others here today who have walked that same road or similar roads, Father, I ask you to be with them and help them to take and to apply your word to their life. And Father, for those young people that are here, Father, that there is so much that's being thrown at them that they have to deal with, that they have to work with, that they have to overcome. Father, I ask you to be with them. The world offers so much that's not of you. Father, help them to focus on you. Father, to fully understand that you know what their needs are. Father, you understand their talents better than they do because you gave them those talents. And Father, I ask you to take them and use them, mold them into what you would have them be. And Father, through them, Father, we can bring true revival through our country, through our young people. And Father, I ask you to do that. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.